Hey, I didn't see you there. How you doing? Didn't see you there. What's up? We're live, everybody. Wait for people to join in. We got some questions today that we're going to go over with our best pal here, Rudy Muniz, and my other best pal here, Ken Chong, and both business partners. We're out here trying to kill the game. I think we're doing okay. So if you have any questions, I'll look at it and yeah, shoot them out. Are we live on Facebook? If you want to go to Facebook and watch, you can. You can go to facebook.com/work realty, and then next week we might switch over to the YouTube. But give us your feedback. Right now we're getting a lot of discussion through the Facebook, so that's where we're probably going to end up staying. But in the meantime,
need a name for the show, right? We're still waiting on
that. If you guys have a name for the show, let us know. We don't have a name for the show yet. We've just been winging it. Nick winging it. And
that's the name.
Maybe that's the name, winging it, right? Work realtying it. And we're just trying to drop knowledge on people because there's a lot of stuff you can Google, and a lot of it's incorrect or doesn't apply to you. California is a whole different animal in real estate versus the rest of the nation. So, we want to make sure that you're actually getting what applies to you here in California because, again, we're a completely different market. Nationally, we don't have as much competition as we do out here. Down payments, loan amounts, things like that are much larger out here, of course, because prices. Real estate's insane out here. We're in the best market in the world, most likely. Quote your boy, D. Trump. He'll verify that. But we'll get started here now. I think a couple people are in now. I'm not sure. I can't see the Facebook link, but we'll start. So we get one question all the time. I posted yesterday. A lot of you asked some questions. Right now, we're going to go over some of these questions. The one question I always get, probably like
every other week.
Once a week is it a good time to buy a house? Do you get that question?
Every week.
I get that question all the time.
Week.
So my best answer is it's a good time to buy a house if you can afford it. I mean, obviously there's timings of markets and whatnot, but even if you buy a house at the top of a market, after every crash, and you can look through all the historic data from when houses have been sold, the market always comes back higher than the previous crash high. Meaning, look at 2008, the highest price of a house in 2008, we've surpassed that by now. So if you bought a house in 2008, it wasn't a bad time to buy a house, unless you lost it, of course. And now your house would be worth more than 2008, so you've built equity now. You could sell it if you want to move. So what I always tell my clients is, as long as you're okay with the location, the layout of the house, and the size of the house, because those are a couple of things that you really can't change without a lot of work. Well, you can't change the location, obviously, but you can change the size of the house. But the layout and location are pretty hard to change. So make sure you're okay with the neighborhood. If you need to live there, real estate's cyclical, which means it's around a 13-year, some people say 9-year market. So just make sure you're okay living there from 9 to 13 years if the market does tank, because in 13 years you will be able to sell it for more than it was when you bought it. So you will have built equity regardless.
What I tell
these guys want to chime in.
What I tell my whatever kind of leads or clientele that is asking me this question, what I tell them is as long as you can afford the payment, your job security is good. That's what really matters. You're gonna pay your $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month. That's never gonna drop. So as long as your job security is good to make the payment that you've qualified for and you're putting down on this house, you can ride out any market that's gonna happen. And I always tell them too, if you're gonna live in it, you're not just gonna, if the market crashes next year, let's say it has a drop next year, it's not like you're gonna sell the house next year. I mean, you're gonna be in there, like you said, for 5 years plus. As long as you can make that payment, you ride it out. So just make sure that your job security matches your payment, and you're gonna minimize that risk.
Absolutely. And then I think a lot of times when I get the same question, I ask a question and countering that. Like I would say, well, why are you buying this house, right? And then a lot of them, like we were talking about, they're using it as a primary residence. So
Yeah.
in that sense, it's like, well, we're not talking about investment, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
essentially,
Yeah, not
essentially
really.
a primary investment
Yeah.
is like it's almost like a savings account.
Yeah.
Right. You're just every month you're putting money into your savings account,
Yeah.
which is quote unquote your equity. You're paying down your mortgage, right? So at the end of the day, you will be able to sell it and get that money back. That's the idea.
Yeah.
We do have graphics that we'll bring up in a minute, and we'll retouch on that item and some of the things that these guys touched on.
So in short, is it a good time to buy a house if you can afford it, like Nick said, and your job security is good to match that payment? As long as
Yeah.
you can make that payment, you feel comfortable making that payment for 5-7 years, it's a great time to buy it because you can do it.
Yeah, I agree. Next question, how much down do I need for a duplex? So there's a couple programs out there for loans, right? That we have a regular conforming loans, which would be an FHA loan or a conventional loan, and then we have non-QM products that we can offer you, which would be based off how much the actual property rents for. On FHA, you can put as little as 3.5% down. As long as you live with the property, you can buy that, live with the property, put 3.5% down, and you can rent out the other units, right?
I believe with FHA, to qualify FHA or any multi-unit, the units based on the rent market, they have to be able to pay the payment. So
Yeah.
if the payment on the duplex is $3,000 a month, each unit has to be $1,500 on market.
Exactly.
And that's how the FHA is going to qualify you with 3.5% down. That's how they minimize their risk with the government-assisted FHA.
Exactly. Once you start stepping to conventional, you're going to need 15% down for duplex. I think triplex and 4 units, you're going to have to step up to about 25% down in conventional. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about multi-units. And then
And you have to live there yourself, right?
yeah, on the
For 12
FHA you
months.
do have to live there. Conventional you don't. And then the non-QM products, of course, is we have a couple products right now that we're offering our partners, Encore Mortgage. If you have a property and as long as the rent is, let's say, 0.7 of what you're renting it out for, or I'm sorry, what the market rent is, or sorry, what the mortgage is, then you can qualify. So let's say that you're going to take an income of, let's just make it easy, $1,000. As long as the property rents out for $700, it will qualify. But you do need other, qualifying things such
Reserves.
as reserves. You need to have some money in the bank for multiple months of the payment. You need to have bank statements showing that you're going to get that income. There's a couple things that that you will need to do to qualify, but they're much easier to qualify. So if you're thinking about buying multi-units, I would advise to go to the non-QM product.
Yeah,
Because
you can even get
it's much easier.
You can get 20% down, which I know we're talking about duplexes, but 3 and 4 units is 25% minimum.
Yeah.
If you go non-QM, you can do 20% down and save that money for another one.
Exactly.
If
So
you're
that
buying
extra
another
5% that you're not putting down, put it towards your closing costs, whatever it is. So that's on multifamily down payments. The next thing is we had a question: what is the average down payment for a $1, $2, or $3 million house? So depending on what county you're in, those could push you out of non-conforming loan limits. So in LA County, a $1 million property would keep you in conforming loan limits, which mean that you could still just put less than 20% down, right? What's the loan limit? The conforming loan limit's 840.
In LA County?
Yeah.
I think it's 850, around 850.
It's around 850. So if you're buying $1 million property, you can put down as little as $150K. Once you start going into $2 million, $3 million properties, those are jumbo loans. You might have to put between 20 and 25% down.
They have some 15% to 10%, but the rate is killer.
Yeah, they have
You gotta
some.
pay some
You
poo-poo
put less
money to
down
get those.
payment, but your rate's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not a question that comes on often. The market for those price of homes is a lot less. So, there's different products that tailor each individual at that price point, let's say. you know.
And if you're in San Bernardino, Riverside County, loan limits are a lot less. Conventional max is $550,000, $300,000 less. So you're putting down, you're going straight to jumbo. If you're looking for $1 million house in San Bernardino, Riverside County, straight to jumbo loan.
Straight to
You're ready to
jumbo.
put
Your rate's going to be higher.
15% plus.
Put at
and a
least
higher rate.
15% down. So, you know, think on $1 million house, you're going to have to put at least 15% down. I mean, there are programs put less, but your rate's going to be super high. You might have to pay some, you will actually have to pay some points to buy the rate down on that. But, I mean, that's, again, a more specialized product. You can always message us. We'll talk about your situation and see how much you have down. I mean, if you're going to be buying that size of a house, I'm sure you make good income. So you probably have what it takes to put the money down. And then here's a question that we got from a user. Live audience, please cue the noise. Is there a loan program with down payment assistance? The down payment assistance program, you know, we really think about that. It's tough in this market. You know, as you know, for buyers, it's competitive. What do you feel about down payment program? It's hard. It's hard out there.
It's very tough. It's very tough. What I really feel when people ask me that question, is there any down payment assistance? It's hard enough to get an FHA offer accepted right now. You know, FHA is not as strong as conventional when it comes to requirements to get the loan. So listing agents are always going to take conventional. Then they're going to go FHA, and then they're going to go down zero down.
So let me stop right there. So what Rudy's saying is, it's going to be hard for your offer to get accepted with the down payment assistance program loan. Most listing agents with this market, it's very competitive. They're going to get a lot of offers, and most likely, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to get an offer that has a conventional loan. Yeah. So with a FHA loan with a down payment assistance program, the likelihood of your offer getting accepted is going to be really low. Yeah, it's not out of the question, though. If the market shifts, probably about 4 years ago, I sold one of my clients a house who got a down payment assistance program. I also had to get the seller to agree to pay for closing costs because, you know, when you're getting down payment assistance, the likelihood of you having money for the closing costs is low. So the closing costs were paid by the seller. She got down payment assistance, and she actually put zero money in to buy this house. Mm-hmm. And that's one out of, you know, hundreds and hundreds of transactions that we've seen.
I've done one in my career, you know.
Yeah, I've done one in my career.
I was actually the listing agent. It was a Calhafa zero down. But the market was, this was, I think, right when coronavirus hit. We listed it like in January, and I think everybody was panicking, you know, and we got the one offer. We're like, you know what, let's just take it. Yeah. So it's a 60-day escrow. But what I would say to that about the zero down, it's in your best interest to really put a plan in place. You know, we're not just realtors or loan officers that just, hey, if you don't qualify.
Sorry, I'm trying to look at the.
A lot of people they don't qualify, and a lot of other banks, just like Chase or Bank of America, you don't qualify, goodbye. You know, they never talk to you again. You know, we're more savvy. We're investment. We know numbers. We know game plan. So I think it's in your best interest, instead of zero down, and putting a plan in place. You know, put the plan in place. Let's figure out where we need to get to, and remember, you can use gift funds. You know, you can get gift funds for a cousin, from a mom or dad. Dad, you know, anything. Anybody, you know,
if you don't have that, if you don't have that, I would just advise you to grind, save as much money as you can. 3.5% on a $500,000 house is, you know,
20.
It's $20,000 with closing costs. You know, so I mean, if you really buckle down, don't go to that bar once a week. You might be able to save that in the next year or two.
And I think it's really important, really, to put that plan in place. You know, because you can be out here kind of guessing and saving and not really knowing. But if you talk to a good professional and they tell you, hey, this is what you need to do. I looked at your file. You need to do A, B, C, and D, and then I can get you this house. The guidelines don't change. Yeah. You know, so as soon as you do, oh, hey, Rudy, I got A, B, C done. Okay, well, let's just get D done. You know, now we got A, B, C done. Now we're looking for a house on a, you know, on a very serious level of getting an offer.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Game plan. Game plan's huge.
Your boy said, "What's up?" Who? He said he wants the plug on the roof.
We got a couple of construction guys. Leave your business card.
We did have a question though. Is what's the minimum credit score for FHA loan?
No. 620. You want to be above a 620.
Well, 580 is actually the qualifying credit score for FHA loan.
But you have to get a DU approval, so it's not a for sure.
It's not a for sure, but 580 is the minimum credit score requirement for an FHA. You may have problems, and you got to have some money in the bank though, if you have bad credit score, because you may have to buy your rate down, and the bank might want to see some money, some assets at least.
It really depends. I think if you have a 619 to a 580, it really depends on your last like 12 to 24 months of payment history. So when they check your credit score and they see a lot of lates in the last 12 to 24 months, they're gonna say, you don't qualify. If these lates were, 5, because it says on your credit for 7 years. So if these lates, from 5 years ago, then that's a little more lenient. Bank's gonna qualify you.
You can explain that. You do a little letter of explanation
LOE,
explaining what happened. Hey, you know what? Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you got a car accident. Maybe there was like a family death or something that happened.
Coronavirus.
Something, and then it's explainable. You lost your job. You had a period of 4 months where you just couldn't pay your car, you couldn't pay your bills, and you got negative hits on your credit score.
But now your payment history is back on track and it's looking smooth. Now the bank's like, okay, he's back on his feet.
Exactly. So it's easier to qualify at that point. I mean, and of course, you can only have one 30-day late within the last 12 months to qualify. So, if you're late on paying your credit card, just make sure it doesn't go into 30 days. Because once it hits 30 days, they're going to report that, and then you're going to have that on your record for 7 years.
7 years.
So do whatever you can to make that minimum payment before 30 days, just to save you from having a 30-day late on your credit score. So let's move on. Next question. How much are closing costs? I always tell my clients 1.5% to 2%, because it's usually, some people estimate like 2 to 3%.
I say 2.
I say, 2 is safe to estimate 2% of the sales price. So if you're buying a house, it's $500,000, figure you need $10,000 for closing costs. Closing costs include, what people might not know, your escrow costs, and there's a title company cost, right? So title ensures that you have clear title. There's gonna be a cost of that. And then, you have your loan costs. You're gonna have your appraisal, the processing fees, underwriting fees.
You have property tax prorations. So
property tax prorations,
that's a big one.
homeowners insurance prorations.
Interest
So you're gonna, interest
Interest
prorations. So you will have some prorations, which, that closing cost is going towards future costs, but you do have to pay it up front. If you have an FHA, there could be an upfront mortgage cost as well, which would be about, I think we do 1.33% of the loan amount. So, figure, like Rudy said, probably 2% is safe to bet. It most likely will be lower. If you're doing conventional, it'll definitely be lower. But for FHA, I think 2% safe.
I think too, a lot of questions that is kind of onto that, the closing costs. A lot of people say, well, can the seller pay for it?
They can.
They can, but good luck, right? The market's so hot. If I'm a listing agent and I have 5 offers and you're the only one asking for closing costs and they're all the same price,
Not gonna count.
you're literally
in this
fifth in line to get this house.
In this market, it's highly unlikely that you'll get a seller to pay for closing costs.
Not this market.
With this market, you might find a deal where they don't have many offers, and
They're priced too high.
This is going to be videotaped, but what I would say is you can put a little bit higher, talk to the seller. If you put a little bit of higher offer in, they might say, if it's listed at $500K and you say, hey, I'm going to come in at $510, but you cover my closing costs, the seller's essentially going to net the same amount of money, right? It's just going to be you that pays a little bit more, and that money's going to end up being financed into your loan amount.
But if you absolutely need it, $10,000 in a $500,000 house rises in your sleep, in a few months. So you'll get it all. You're gonna get it all back. Yeah. But that's if you absolutely need it, and that's where I think if you're working with a good agent,
you gotta work with a savvy agent that knows how to do that.
The agent can talk to the agent, and they're the ones that are gonna get it done. Yeah. And make both parties feel like, hey, this isn't a huge deal. You're still getting the same. You're getting your closing costs. It works for everybody. Let's make a deal.
Exactly. So, that's touching a lot on down payment and closing costs. So, just maybe to recap real quick on what you need to buy a house is you're talking FHA 3.5% down with another 2% of the purchase price to close, and then for conventional you might need between 15 to 25% for multifamilies, plus that let's say 1.5% down closing costs to close. That's what we have for you consumers out there. We have a couple investors that chimed in. People that are interested in investing that chimed in also on my post that asked a couple questions. So as you know, Work Realty, our sister company is Ascend Private Equity. We do the hard money loans out of. We had a question, Ken, today on, Rudy's one of our partners on the hard money loans as well, so he can chime in on these too. How much upfront do you charge for hard money? And by upfront, I would assume they're talking about points, fees,
processing fees,
and stuff like
loan
that.
docs.
Yeah. On that, I would say,
Yeah, the
with-
main ones
yeah.
are obviously,
points.
yeah.
I mean, we
I
like a
think-
minimum of 2 points generally to stay competitive.
Yeah.
We're seeing between 1.5 and 3 points. We do higher leverage loans than most lenders, so we're up around 2+ points.
Yeah.
Lower leverage lenders, which are lending, a lot less than us on a same
Yeah.
deal, they can give you 1.5. So
Yeah.
again, back to the $500,000 model. If you're buying a house for $500,000, we would give you about $450, where another lender might give you only $400. So we might charge, another half point, but you're borrowing $50,000 extra. So out of pocket, you're coming out a lot less, which if you're an investor, that boosts your
Yeah.
ROI significantly.
And I think people have to be careful with getting LOIs like from any lender. Like, you gotta really read into the fine lines, because there are a lot of ways for many lenders, like, charge it in a different way. Let's
Yeah,
say-
bait and switch.
Let's keep names out of it. Let's keep names
Yeah,
out of it.
I'm not gonna mention
Well, as you guys
names.
know, we're
We've seen
investors
it. We've
ourselves.
seen it.
There's nothing obviously wrong with that, but it's just
It's a business.
you gotta know your product, the product you're getting. Yeah.
So to visit what Ken was talking about, hard money loans are not as regulated as consumer loans. So things that are disclosed up front, a lot of hard money lenders change on the back end because there's not as much regulation federally to regulate changing points and fees at the end of the loan. So we get a lot of clients that come to us and say, you know what, this guy was going to give me 2 points, 9%, or whatever it is, and they come to me and say, I need to close in 3 days. Now the guy wants 4 points and 12%.
The bad one
and
too
now
is
they
the-
give me 3 days to close escrow.
Bait and switch.
Bait and switch,
Yeah,
yeah.
bait and switch, and they do that a lot in hard money lenders. For us, we like to give an LOI, and we like to change it from the beginning. So what we give you is what you'll get. So just to touch base on points, rate, and down payment, the minimum down payment we like to have is 10%. The points is usually, like I said, if it's a really good loan to value, depending on the property type, 1.5 to 3 points is what we generally charge. If it's last minute rush, something we might charge more than 3%. I'm sorry, 3 points. And then rates between, it can go to as low as 8, but as high as 15, depending if you want a second position loan.
Yeah.
So second position loans are much more expensive because there's more risk to the investor. So more risk, higher costs.
That's with every bank. And then for the hard money too, just for the consumers out there, that's investment loans only.
Yes.
So this is very high leverage. But if you're
No owner-occupied,
if you're buying a good investment, this shouldn't break your deal. You're gonna get points. You're gonna get fast money. We're gonna close in 10, 14 days, and the money's always sitting. So I mean, if the deal makes sense, we're relationship based. I don't know how many loans we've done together, hard money loans, just a
a lot.
ridiculous amount. But it's like I don't ever have to worry. Once I've done 3 or 5 with them, which was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now it's just like it's not even a
As
thought
an
anymore.
investor,
It's like the
you
money's
wanna
there.
make
The
sure you
money's
get the
there.
deal.
Which is
Exactly.
that's what's important about the investment. It's so hard to find the investment property. You need to lock it up fast. If you
And
got to pay
then-
the extra $5,000,
Yeah. In
somebody
addition
else
to that,
will too.
in addition to that, I would say is we're like a mom and pop hard money lending company, right? I mean, there's companies out there that are backed by Goldman Sachs, Berkshire Hathaway. They're going to be more like a corporate full doc loan. We're a mom and pop investor. We've never had a foreclosure, which means we underwrite the loans properly. Which also means for a borrower, we may look at a deal that you think you're going to score on, and we might tell you to run from that deal, right?
Really?
Where another lender might just want to do the loan, so they don't care
trying to
what
make
you're
money.
going to make. We look at how much you're going to spend on it, and we're more personable about it. So we're going to tell you, don't buy that house, man. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
And
I've
then
done
we're
that
going to end
with-
up saving you money. We could give you the loan, and then you're going to lose money, but we'll still make
Yeah,
the same money.
yeah.
But we don't do that. So
We
we've
want
never had a
our borrowers to
foreclosure
perform.
in the 5 years that we've been doing it. So
Yeah, I've done that. 2 investors, them, who we always talk about what we have going on. I advised 2 people not to do 2 deals, and they're still in those deals today. And they started like 6, 7
Tell
months
me
ago.
about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, and
We
it's
have-
like I
yeah.
told you, it's
Hold
not
back,
it's
I
not that I
told
don't
you
want you to
so,
make
yeah.
money.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want you to make
Exactly.
money. It's I've been here, I've seen this.
We have
and this
experience.
is
We've
not
done
what a
our own
professional
deals.
yeah, it's not what a professional investor would
You
touch.
know.
Don't touch it. They
Yeah.
touched it, and now they're like, Rudy,
Yeah.
we need to have more meetings. I need to pick your brain. It's
between
like, it's a little late
between
now.
the 3 here,
Next
we've
year.
done over 100 flips. We've done full ground up construction projects. We've battled COVID in those processes too, and
Still on
We've
the
made it out
And
alive.
if you come to us, if you come to us as your lender, you're gonna get not only a lender, but you're gonna get
partner.
some advice on what to do and what not to do.
Definitely.
But another question that we had from an investor was touch base on low income housing. It's kind of like a broad question. What I would say is, unless you're already in that game, don't go do low income housing. It's probably not worth your time. There's a lot of grants and stuff out there that the state gives you for low income housing. We've dabbled in it. We've looked into it. We've done a ton of research into it.
Yeah.
There's also workforce housing now, which Ken's been studying like he's a college student. There's low income housing, and now there's workforce housing, which is a step above low income housing. And in order for you to be able to benefit as an investor to build those type of properties, you're going to need to be building at least 100 unit projects, probably. Stuff that we've looked at that even we're not ready to step into yet. So if you're a new investor, I would say bluntly, forget about it.
Yeah,
and workforce
there's a lot better for if you're
There's
new.
a lot better ways to make money than try to tie yourself up in that.
Yeah, that's a long game.
Exactly.
For the experienced.
Exactly.
And
So
especially with workforce housing, it's often very big projects that we're talking about, like over 100 unit.
yeah, and just to educate you real quick, low income housing's for anyone that makes 80% less or 80% or less than the median income.
Yeah.
Workforce housing is 80% to
80 to 120. Yeah.
120%
AMI.
of the median income. So, big cities like the city of LA, city of San Francisco, they're trying to put in workforce housing now, which is, they're trying to make it more affordable for people who make that 80% of the median income to 120% of the income to afford rentals, essentially.
Yeah.
So, because as you know, we'll see the graphic in a minute that Shizu's going to throw on the screen, that rent prices are up. So we'll touch again on that. And then we had a great question, my favorite thing to do. We have social mixers and networking events. Someone asked, when's the next mixer?
I think we could bring that back now.
We're gonna, I mean, we had one about a month ago, I believe, about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
A month and a half ago was great.
then
We had a good
Delta.
turnout. It was the first one that we did after COVID, but then Delta came back pretty strong, so we kind of held off on doing that again. But I think California's the only, California and I think Puerto Rico are the only regions that are down to orange level, meaning that
the worst is behind us.
the worst is behind us, hopefully,
Hopefully
knock
on
on
that,
wood. So I think that we will have another social mixer maybe in the next month or so. I'll keep you guys posted. It was fun last time. I think everyone made great contacts. We had escrow guys, title guys, we had investors, we had people that borrow money and flip houses and build houses. We had regular real estate agents, we had loan officers, we had just people that are interested in real estate that never talked about it. We had other businesses, we had alcohol sponsors, just anybody that just wanted to come and network. It was a good turnout. I think everyone had a good time. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna put another one together. We'll let you know about the location and the time and the place.
Yeah, and then we always try to be informative, and the key is to network. There won't be any like inspirational speeches of that sort.
Yeah, no.
So,
Yeah, you just talk to a few people and start to ask it. Bring any question you have. Someone's gonna be able to answer it.
and we don't charge for the event.
And we don't charge. So you get free knowledge. Which
So shout out Camille. You tuned in so you can learn about real estate.
get that knowledge.
Answer your boy.
Get that knowledge. I would say based on like all this what we went through today, I think the most important thing is if you're a consumer, new home buyer, maybe haven't bought in a long time, getting with a professional that can put a plan for you. I think that's so huge, because I get so many people that are just kind of out there doing their thing, and then once they meet me or they meet somebody like Nick or Ken or a solid agent, it's like, hey, this is what you told me, and this is what you need to do, and then now we can put it together and really get you in a home realistically, and that's the goal, So the information's there. Yeah. You just have to kind of reach out for it.
Okay, cool. So we had some marketing slides that came from one of our sponsors, Encore Mortgage. As you can see, the logo on the top, that's our preferred partner for lending. This right here says pre-approval, gives you an advantage if you get into a multiple offer scenario, and these days it's likely you will. So first off, I'm going to start by saying no professional agent in their right mind will show you a house without a pre-approval. It's a complete waste of time. I kind of have a funny story from the first office I ever worked at. No names, but we had a guy that was showing houses literally for a year and a half to this family. He went based off what they told him. They had a ton of money and et cetera, and they could qualify up to 1.2. They went and looked at houses for a year and a half. They were very picky. They finally found the house they loved. Well, this young agent never got them pre-qualified. And when he got them pre-qualified, after they found the house they loved, they were writing the offer up, he found out they were only qualified up to like $500,000. And they were looking at $1.2 million houses for a year and a half.
It's DTI.
So
DTI
not only did it waste their time, it wasted
Yeah.
his time, it wasted everybody's time for a year and a half, and he lost that client because they obviously were like, we can't afford a house we want, so we're not gonna buy a house. So
Yeah.
that's an extreme waste of time. I advise all of the agents that work for us here at Work Realty not to show houses unless you have pre-approval.
It's to protect everyone from wasting time.
Well, it's basically, I mean, if I fill you out, I know you've been at your job for a long time, I know you're responsible, you probably save money, I will show you maybe once. I might take you out to see a couple of houses 1 or 2 times just to show you what it's like to do it. But after that one time, I'm going to say, get your paperwork in, because if you're not showing me that you're serious to get your paperwork in and qualify for a loan, then I'm not going to be serious about showing you houses.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's across the board. Most professional agents are going to tell you that. So don't take that personally. That's just,
It's the business.
you respecting our profession as much as us,
it's a business of
giving you
help
professionalism.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And our job, we don't get paid off time. We get paid off, what we can do for people.
Exactly.
So if I'm walking you in a house, when I leave my house and I know I'm showing you that house, in my mind, we're getting that house.
Exactly,
And if you're really, that's just how you have to be, And if we're not pre-approved, I cannot get you this house. So why am I going there?
What's the point of going there?
Yeah, we can't buy this house, so we have to get ready first.
I would say getting pre-approved, that's the golden ticket. Once you get that pre-approval, I mean, that's the first step to the golden ticket. Once we reach the DU approval, that is the golden ticket. Hey, this is what you can buy. You have that in your hands. I can buy this. Now you can go look at houses within your budget, and you can comfortably know that you can afford that house. We
can make the offer right there. We go in, we see it, you like it. Maybe we go home, send you the offer, sign it up. We already have the pre-approval. We have the DU. We have your proof of funds to show you can close at this price. Now we put it with the contract offer on that house. We literally send it into the agent. It's a pretty offer.
Sweet.
That
Yeah,
it's gonna get accepted.
100%. Now, expand your search radius. So this is touching base on if you're a new buyer and you say, I have to live in this neighborhood, right? Well, it's a competitive market right now, right? So, and there's not a lot of inventory, meaning there's not a lot of listings coming on the market. So if you're qualified, and touch back on, it's not ever a bad time to buy. So if you can afford a house, you're ready to buy, you might have to expand your search a little bit. I've had people who are like, I have to live in this neighborhood, and then you have to talk them into saying, let's expand your research. Do you know about this neighborhood? Do you know about this neighborhood? Do you know about this neighborhood? Because I have some clients who are like, well, I never thought about living in that area. I never thought about that city. Well, be open is what I say. If you're not open-minded, you're closed-minded, and if you're not open-minded, your chances of success are a lot less. So don't be so closed-minded that I have to live in this city, I have to live in this neighborhood, my kid has to go to this school, I have to have a great school district. Be more open-minded to looking in other areas. So expanding your search radius, that not only touches on area, but on the features of the home, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I have a boy, good friend, I was in his wedding, know who you are. He told me, I want to have a single-story house with no pool. Guess what I sold him? He bought a 2-story house with a pool.
It's a better house.
Because after you start looking at houses, you start opening your mind to things, you start seeing things, you change your mind a little bit. So be open, and you might get something that you didn't think you were going to get, and you're going to be happy. You might feel like crap for a month while you're trying to move in. You haven't put your personal touches on it, but after a month, I've never had a client say that they were still mad about living at their house.
Yeah, any house I've ever got a client, I mean, if you like again, if you can do it, do it. I mean, it's love. I mean, you make it your own home.
Yeah.
It's a good house. You know, if you have a good agent, it's gonna be a good house. You know, and you're not gonna run into issues down the line. So you know, just you gotta go for it. You know, you gotta go for it before the market takes over.
Let's get the next slide up. What do we got? Oh, so this again is going to touch base on what we were just talking about. Weigh your must-haves to your nice-to-haves. Yeah. So basically that's saying, and I always tell people, your wants versus your needs. Your wants versus your needs. Sometimes people tell me, you know what, I want to live like right near like a downtown area so that I can walk there, I can go to bars and stuff. I'm like, well, what happens in a year when you have kids or you have 2 kids? Like, you might need a place that's near a park. Or you might need a little bit more space, because some people say, well, I'll take the 2-bedroom next to this downtown so I can walk there, versus I'll take the 3-bedroom that's a little bit farther away. Well, you know, think about it. At our age, we have a lot of friends that are having kids and whatnot, getting married. So I think I've sold probably 3 or 4 houses for friends that have already outgrown their house because of kids that were unexpected or whatever it is. So do think about your needs versus your wants sometimes. If you commute for work, be close to the freeway versus being off because you want to be off in the hills. You know, I mean, after a while, it's great to live in the hills, but if you're driving down that hill every day,
you're not getting to
you're gonna start hating it. Yeah,
I mean, an hour up that hill.
Exactly.
When you can be an
so
hour
I mean, again, touching base. Be open-minded to certain features. You know, your wants versus your needs. I mean, yeah, you know, your wants. Yeah, like my buddy said, I want a 1-story house, but you know what? At the end of the day, he probably needed the bigger 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom that had this, you know, all the rooms upstairs. You know, so again, be open-minded. That's all we're saying with this slide here.
Yeah.
What else we got? What's going on with home prices?
They keep going up forever.
Home prices are steadily rising, and that's because the next question, where are mortgage rates heading? They're pretty still, and why is it important to buy a home? I think we already went over why it's important to buy a home.
I think it's more like ask a professional, not the internet.
Of course, ask the
please.
professional, ask us, not the internet.
Yeah.
Things that the internet's not going to tell you, right? We have the president of China doing some radical stuff, right? Investors are pulling out of China. The stock market's taking a hit due to that, right? What happens when the stock market takes a hit? What happens to mortgage rates? Mortgage rates go down. People are pulling money out of the stock market, putting it in mortgage-backed securities, which means there's more supply of mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah, they'll take a lower rate.
They're going to take a lower rate to lend their money. So beneficial for you home buyers is the rate's going to go down. Unfortunately for stock guys like Ken and my boys at Merrill Lynch, shout out Daniel and Spencer, you know, you guys are probably taking hits on those stock market crashes. But for guys like us, you know, I mean, our clients are benefiting from it. We're getting low interest rates. I mean, I'll tell you a story real quick about me and Daniel were on a bachelor party, right? Daniel's my cousin, works at Merrill Lynch. Shout out DSV, DS Valens. One time we woke up at a bachelor party. It was like Friday morning, and he was standing in front of the TV just with his arms folded, looking at the tickers of the stock market, just pissed off. Damn it, I'm going to take a bunch of calls from Investors Day. I got to explain to them everything's going to be okay. And I believe this was on the Brexit thing, right? So the global market happens, stock market goes down, right? So I'm sitting there like this because I know interest rates are going to go down. So I'm going to call my clients and say, hey, I think I get you better interest rates.
Yeah,
so,
got refi,
it's 2 completely different reactions to what happens in the stock market. I mostly put my money in real estate investments. Ken diversifies with stocks. So he can chime in on what's happening with the stock market right now.
Yeah, and again, like the same answer applies. So if you're in the stock market, you would know like it still rides the wave. You know, with the inflation. If you keep your money in there, especially with blue chip,
you'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
But you have to pivot, right, with the market. But the overall market's down. I think I told you on Monday. I got a warning at like 3 in the morning as the Dow's going to open up super low, and then Ken didn't know about it all day. And I think later in the day, Ken was having a great day all day, and at like 4 o'clock, I was like, dude, the Dow's down like 600. And he said, what? Let me check. And I think his day was still good after that, but it was better for our borrowers whose interest rates dropped, right? So
I think back to ask the professional is the big one here. When I was first an agent, I didn't know how to answer this question. What's going on with the home prices, right? So I would sit there and I'm just gonna wait, Rudy. I'm just gonna wait. You know, hear it all the time. They have a magic wand. They think the market's gonna drop, which it never did. Yeah. So then what happens is they come to me a year later and they're like, hey, Rudy, I saved the money. You know, I say I'm ready to buy that $500,000 home in Rancho. I'm like, 500,000 is Rialto.
You're gonna move farther east.
We're 2 cities down now.
Yeah.
You know, so my brother was working with a client. He's a newer agent. My brother Eric. He was working with a client, and they wanted to be in Rancho.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Rudy, we don't know, or you know, I was the lender. You know, 3,200. You know, I'm just not sure. I called my brother. I said, tell them. You know, we're just gonna wait. We're gonna save a little more money. I said, tell them 3,200 is gonna be Fontana and Rialto next year. You know, sure enough, they're like, okay, yeah, let's just lock it in. Let's lock it in.
Well, yeah.
Close the house in Rancho, and it goes back to that same thing. If you can make the payment and you can do it now. Because if you don't do it now, that house is not guaranteed to be that same price next year.
Well, it's like
definitely
I've had a couple of friends. One in particular, they told me their wife was pregnant. I was selling them a house. I don't care. I will buy this house. I know it's top of market. I know I'm going to lose money. It's okay. I just need to buy a house because I need my wife to have a place to nest and have their kid. And 4 years later, we sold their house for $400,000 more than they bought it in 4 years. So that's $100,000 in equity a year, essentially, than when they bought it. And at the time, he thought he was buying it at the top of the market. So that should just tell you right there, in 4 years, a lot can change, right? Yeah. And not only did someone essentially come up and say, here's $400,000 to move out of your house, he lived at his house for free essentially for that 4 years, right? And you know, so that's again chiming back to is it a good time to buy? You never know if it's a good time to buy. What Rudy just said, you can afford the payment. What I said, you like the location and you can sit it out any crash, then you should be good.
Because long term,
it's going to be there.
Long
You're always
term,
going to make
you
money.
most likely not going to
California real
lose.
estate. Yeah.
Disclosure, every investment has a risk.
Yeah. We're not promising,
next
but
slide.
statistics are.
No realtor would be able to tell you that.
Okay. Here is buying a house too expensive. Look what rates have done. Look what rents have done over the past couple years. Rents have shot up.
Good time to have multi-unit.
Well,
yeah, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The reason why rents have shot up is because there's a lack of housing in California. There's just not enough places to rent.
Not enough space.
So, you know, me and Ken and Rudy and guys like us, a couple of our partners, shout out Sergio, we're doing the good deed and knocking down single family houses and building multi-unit houses, right? So I think we've had one property where we knocked down one, we were putting 5, we knocked down 1, we put down 3, we put down 4, we knocked down a triplex and we put down 4. So we're adding units to the market, which in the long run will hopefully bring the market rents down. But in the meantime, market rents are high. I know some people don't like the guy, but shout out Gavin Newsom. He just signed SB 10. Shout out to Gabby for pointing that out to us. That's gonna make cities streamline builders' plans being submitted and being able to build multi-unit properties faster to try to alleviate the stress of a housing shortage.
If you're an investor, just a side note, if you're an investor and the rents keep doing this, you have multi-unit homes, your property automatically goes up because investment properties are based on how much cash it makes per month. Yeah. So if it was making 400 3 years ago and now it's making 800, you know, you're getting 2 times the income with really the same property. You really didn't do anything. Approach. And now the appraisal is going to run off the income approach and you're going to get value, which all of our investors that have bought fourplexes in the last 3 or 4 years have come up, you know, a lot of money on their equity.
Next slide. Do we have another slide? Nearly 6 in 10 houses are selling over the asking price. I will comment on this because I will say 6 in 10 houses are selling over asking price because a lot of agents in this market have become a little savvier and are listing the prices a little lower to encourage a bidding war. So this is just reflecting what agents are listing the prices at. It's not necessarily meaning,
they listed at market and they went over market.
Yeah, it's not saying that people think are going way over appraisal price. I believe that out of all the transactions I've done this year and last year, all of them have appraised at the value except maybe one, which the appraiser didn't know what he was doing, had no clue. So that's the current transaction that we're actually doing. We ordered a new appraisal, talked to the new appraiser. He said there's no problem on the value. So again, houses are appraising still, even though they're selling over list price, and that's mainly due to the fact that listing agents are trying to create a bidding war by listing the property low, getting activity on their property, and creating that bidding war.
That happens when there's no inventory.
Exactly. So start the bidding low, force it up. That's
I always
classic.
do that. You have to do that.
That's classic.
You just want a lot of people through the door, and if you're a seller, that brings a ton of people through the door. Because we're savvy, we know loans, we can see the financials, we know certain people can go up, and then we pick those offers. Say, hey, if you can come up to this price, we'll use you because you have the best financials. It gives you more opportunity to get the most money. Really.
Exactly. Is there another slide? Let's see. Take a horizontal for R1, make it into multifamily. Okay.
Mortgage rates.
Mortgage
Lower
rates.
than.
So as you can see here, mortgage rates are historically lower than they've ever been, right? I mean, this is only showing the past 5 years,
5 years.
To 2016. But look where rates are still. So when people, I think I touched on this last vlog or whatever you want to call this thing. You're paying the same monthly payment for a house that's $600,000 right now than one that was about $500,000 here, right? Or even in 2018. Imagine 2018, if your mortgage is at 5%, you bought a house at $500,000, you're paying the same payment about now for a $600,000 house, for $620,000. So that's why it's gotten more competitive, because people that could in 2018 only afford a $500,000 house could afford a $600,000 house now. So
that's what's pushing the prices up too.
Still, when you're haggling with us for interest rates, just know you're still getting a low interest rate.
It's still
Historically,
historical,
talk to your people that bought houses in the 80s when interest rates were like 18%. So look up historic data.
If you have a loan here, you need to refinance.
Yeah, exactly what Rudy said.
You should be getting that.
If you bought a house anywhere before 2020, refinance.
You need to refinance
because your rate will be lower, 100%.
I've refinanced a lot of properties this year.
And don't wait, because towards the end of the year, we'll see what happens with the global economy, but interest rates may go up at the end of the year. Right now they're staying stagnant, and they actually dropped this week. So don't wait on that refi.
We never know. We never know when they're gonna go up and down.
We can't tell
really
we had a crystal
Nobody
ball.
knows.
We tell the future. Dude, we'd be rich.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Hey, I got a couple questions here on the Instagram. Is that the last slide? Okay. On the Instagram, someone asked about out-of-state houses. I'm not sure if it's for investing, for moving. I will reiterate what I said at the beginning of this, is that if you're investing in real estate, we are probably the best market in the world to invest in. You invest in a property. I mean, there's obviously, you can go make money elsewhere, right? But if you live in California, you can drive to the property here. I would much rather advise a client to buy a house in like Hesperia, Hemet, Victorville, somewhere where the prices are still low. You can still make money, but that is much better than going and buying a house like in Texas, right? Because we're so populated in California that people are still just going to be moving out. There's nowhere to build houses in Southern California except outward, right? If you go to Texas or something, I don't know if you've ever been to Texas. I've been to Austin like 8 times. I don't know. They're always building new houses. They're always building new houses because there's so much land to build new houses. So what that does, instead of appreciating the properties that are already built, they're just building new houses, right? So your appreciation is much lower in other states than it is here, right? And again, you can make money out there, you can invest out there, but just know that your property might appreciate at half the rate that it would probably appreciate here. If that, yeah. I mean, if you bought a $100,000 house in Texas, it might appreciate to 120 over 10 years, versus if you bought a $100,000 house in Barstow, it'd probably appreciate to 200,000 in the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So the same applies if the market does crash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if the market does crash,
if we hit out there,
we're much less affected out here than in other states. So just keep that in mind. It's drivable if you live here. If something happens to your investment property, you can get there quick. You need to change the water heater, whatever it is. You have feet on the ground, what I call it. If you don't have feet on the ground somewhere else, which also requires you to pay somebody, then it doesn't make sense.
What I think about the out-of-state investing, I don't have out-of-state properties, but from what the numbers show, you're going to get cash flow there.
You will.
Supposedly you're gonna get 10% in, 10% on your ROI. Whatever you put in, you're gonna cash flow.
Yeah.
Here, you're not gonna get as much cash flow, but you're gonna get equity.
Yeah,
This thing's gonna fly up. $100,000 in 2-3 years. I mean, that's your cash flow.
Can I pause you there? Because I have someone who sent me a property. Hey, we're gonna buy this 100-unit property in Texas, right? And it's gonna make X amount of dollars per month, right? I said, okay, so you're buying 100 units in Texas, it's going to make this amount of money a month. Or you can have a 10 unit in California and make the same amount of money for the same price. So do you want to go and say, yeah, I'm going to buy 100 units or I'm going to buy 10 units? Think about dealing with 100 tenants versus dealing with 10. Imagine if the market goes down or there's another coronavirus and you have to give 100 people for forbearance on their rent or whatever it is, versus 10 people, you're taking much more of a risk, that's just how I see it. We've had opportunity to invest elsewhere. When I worked at my old investment firm, we bought 50 houses in Gary, Indiana. 50 houses for like $50,000 we bought, and I drove those houses. I went there to Gary, Indiana twice. Super impoverished. At the end of the day, I don't think it really panned out. It wasn't worth it to go own 50 houses in a different state. Done it, seen the ideals behind it. I, as a professional real estate investor here, I feel that you're better off here. If you can only afford a rental unit in Hesperia, that's better than buying a rental unit in Texas, in my opinion.
Well, in business, they say your biggest risk is things you don't know.
Exactly. You don't know the market.
You don't know that. Yeah. Here we know.
Yeah,
we know everything.
The market
we know the
here.
rules. We know how to get a good client in your rental. We know. So there's not much risk. When you go to other states, we don't know. We have to learn. We still have to relearn.
Like investment firms and companies, like they do invest out of state, but then they wouldn't be coming to us like asking about it. But obviously it makes sense for them because they have vast like investment
they have huge teams and they have a ton of money that they're looking at making a little return. Projects. They don't care. Yeah. We're looking at a little bit better returns.
In terms of that, it's on a different scale, so it makes a lot more sense for them to do that. But if as an investor like here, or you have foot on the ground here, I don't think it's a viable option like for you to.
Do what you know. If you have a professional you're close with, and he or she is really good at real estate, you want to stick close to them because that's not hard, that's not easy to find, especially in investment type of properties. When there's risk and reward on the line. Really.
Okay, the next one was talk about how to make a property zoned R1 into a multifamily. So technically, you can not rezone a property from R1 into a multifamily. Which the state's allowing us to do, which cities have to comply because the state will sue you. The city now is that most cities are allowing ADUs and junior ADUs, which technically adds 2 units to your property, but they're not considered units, and you cannot put gas stoves in them, essentially. Yeah. So they're basically units, you just can't put gas stoves in. So you're not changing the zoning, but you can apply to get ADU or junior ADU. Junior ADU has to be attached to the main house. An ADU can be a separate structure. So you can do 1 or 2 more units on your property. It's dictated by how big your property is, the square footage, and how big the land is, and then how big the actual house is, the square footage. Because you only add a percentage of the square footage of your house to the property. So
and every city is different, so you got to check with your city or your county.
A lot of cities have different qualifications, but they all are being pushed by the state to be more lenient to allow these plans to go through, or the state will sue them.
Need more housing.
So,
Yep, exactly.
So, I mean, I think we touched on a lot of stuff today. We got through a lot of questions from people online. If we didn't answer your question, let's get on the next one next week, or I don't know, maybe in a couple weeks. What do you think, Brandon? You let me know. Brandon, the man behind the scenes
Send
here.
mine too. Send questions. You can send them to Work Realty. Send them to me. We'll throw them
Yeah,
on the
send
list
them
here.
to at
Anything you
Work
wanna
Realty,
know.
at Ascend PE,
Yeah, anything
at
you wanna know,
Paradigm
we'll help you.
Collaboration. Those are our companies. At my handle, Ken's or Rudy's. We'll get to those next time. Come by the office, visit us. We got hand sanitizers. Believe it or not, we bought these before COVID because we go to a lot of nasty houses. I wash my hands and spray sanitizer any house I go into. I don't know what people have been doing in those things. And then come by, we got air fresheners for your car. Smell good. Rain smell. And what's the other one? New laundry, fresh laundry? Who knows? Come get them. Come visit us.
Just say new car
We'd like to
smell.
see you. But
We got merch.
we're out. Okay.
Thanks. Bring the questions.